Hey, what is up, everybody? It is actually super early in the morning, but I wanted to get my part one theory for guitar players. A lot of you guys were asking, so I'm gonna get this video out. And I'm noticing, I'm teaching a lot of theory lately. I'm noticing that people are picking up on certain things earlier than other students, and then some students are picking up on these aspects sooner than some other topics. So I'm gonna kind of fly by the cuff here, and I'm gonna use what has generally been working. So as always, guys, if you have any questions, just comment or DM me. I will get back to you to kind of help guide you through, and stop this video and go ahead and rewind if there's anything that you're starting to miss. But for this beginning part, what we're gonna do is we're just gonna focus on our major scale. So I really hope that's something that you guys have looked at before, but we're just gonna use the typical box form of our major scale. All right, and this is it written right here. Now, in the major scale, we're going to use our numeric system. So for the major scale, we have only 7 notes that repeat. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, and then just because the box form kind of ends on the 2 there. So if you've noticed, these open notes right here, those are all my 1s. Those are the tonics. That's the root note of whatever key I'm playing in. So for you guys that do know the notes up and down the neck, my 5th fret right here, that's A. Meaning if I play the scale starting right there, that is my root note. That means I'm playing my A major scale in this position. All right, the reason I'm starting with the numeric system and I'm not starting with the actual staff or the letters, the notes, is because with the guitar, it's very easy to kind of learn in a box form and move that up and down the neck. Whereas most other instruments, every scale kind of changes. So to show you what I mean really quickly is, if I have my A major, all right, if I wanted to play a B major, all I do is find a B, and my fingers are doing the same thing. So it's visually looks exactly the same. So we're gonna start with this, and then we're going to start adding the actual staff music into this to kind of understand what it is that we're playing on the guitar. So again, guys, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then starting over again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then starting over again right here, really just with the octave and the 2. So that is something I want you guys to really get down. We're gonna break down why each one of these notes is significant and start building chords off of it. So for that breakdown of the major scale, I just want you guys to stop and rewind it and make sure that you understand where each one of those notes are. And if I can just kind of do it visually for you guys, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, my octave back to my 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, my octave, and just to complete the box form, that's my 2. All right, so 1, 1, and 1. Also, if you guys can remember, that is going to be an important positional thing. A lot of people call that the triangle, the octave triangle. So my root note, and my root note. All right, so pause there, go back to just get that breakdown of the major scale. All right, I wasn't gonna do this so early in the video, but I wanna touch on it. If you guys have a problem, you can go back and kind of re-digest the information. If it is a little too much for you very beginners, don't worry right away, just kind of keep it in the back of your head. But I wanna go over the concept of a whole step and a half step and how it pertains to the major scale. So for anyone that is a piano player, right, one key to the next key on a piano is a half step, all right? And that is the same. One note to the next fret is a half step. One note to 2 frets is my whole step, okay? So when you're playing this major scale, from your 1 to a 2 is a whole step. From your 2 to a 3 is a whole step. From your 3 to a 4 is a half step. 4 to 5 and 5 to 6 and 6 to 7 are all whole steps. and then your 7 back to your 1 is a half step. So really, if you're just thinking of this, it's just your 3 to your 4 and your 7 back to your octave is a half step. We said those half steps are just 1 fret, where the whole steps are 2 frets. So if you look, my 1 to my 2 is a whole step, right? Those 2 frets away. My 2 to my 3 is a whole step, but if I can show you guys here, that note is the same as this. Right now, so that's my whole step, 2 frets away. Now my 3 to my 4, 1 fret, so it's my half step. 4 to my 5 is a whole step. 5 to my 6 is the same. Here to here is my whole step, so same from here to here, it's the same pitch. My 6 to my 7, also a whole step, 2 frets away, but then my 7 to my octave is back to just a half step. So I just wanted to show you that because we're going to start getting into building chord progressions off of using the scale degrees, these numbers, so to speak, the scale degrees, and how to build chord progressions off of that. So knowing whether they're 1 fret, half step, or 2 frets, a whole step away is definitely going to help. So let's get into it. Real quick, before I move on to this next part, which I've written here, which looks very confusing, if you guys can't play these full bar chords, right, any one of these, if that's a little bit too much, just start with a power chord, which is just going to be this note and this note. All right, so almost like my 1st fret, my 5th fret. All right, just to follow along to what I'm playing here, you'll see if I'm doing these full bar chords, just doing that just so you guys can get the concept of building a chord progression just using power chords. And even if that's too much, you can just follow along with your 1st finger. All right, if this theory is really that important to you and you want to start adding it in if you're at those beginner stages, so try that first. As always, if you guys need help. All right, guys, let's get into building chord progressions. We're gonna use bar chords because, like I said, we're gonna be able to take any of these progressions and move them up and down the guitar neck, just like our major scale, moving all over, and then we're gonna start adding in some more musical staff concepts. But this is what I have. These are my chord forms. I have my major bar chord if my root note was going to start here on the 6th string. All right, and just to kind of show you guys really quickly, just so you get this, 5, 7, 7, 6, and then 5, 5 down there. So all those 5s are being barred. So that is it written out right here. Root note, and root note. Okay, just like if I were to play the major scale, that was the same, that triangle that I showed you before, root note, and root note. Just so happens that all 3 of those are in my major bar chord. Now, my minor bar chord form, for the same idea, my root note is going to be on the 6th string. I hope you guys can read these charts. Those chord charts can get a little bit tricky, but I hope it's something that you guys have done before. So just taking that major bar chord and lifting up your middle finger. So now it's 5, 7, 7, 5, 5, 5. Getting into the major, but starting on my 5th string. Now this is the way that I play it, is I do 5, 7, 7, 7, all right, but I do those 7, 7, 7s with my 3rd finger. All right, some people do play it like that, but that just ends up being a lot of motion to carry those around if I'm gonna be switching chords. All right, and then my minor chord form, if I'm starting on my 5th string, will be just like my major, starting on the 6th string, just bringing everything down. So I got nothing on my top string, and I got 5, 7, 7, 6, 5. And of course, all of these forms can be played all over the guitar neck. That's why this is important. If that was too much for you guys, go back a little bit, and like I showed you, use the bar chords, or I'm sorry, use your power chords. Your 1 and your 5s. Just to follow along if you're really looking to get into theory. So now, this is how I have the major scale written here. We're gonna start on the 5th fret, just like I have written, okay? And my scale degrees go 1, 2, 3, but that's also 3, 4, 5, and 6. So guys, watch. My 1 is on my 5th fret, which means my 2 is the 7th fret. My 3 is the 9th fret, which is also the same as my 4th fret. All right, I wanna make sure you guys get that. My 4 my 5, and my 6. Everything is kind of parallel with each other. All right. Now the reason, if I just show you guys that real quick, instead of doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I'm just extending it. I'm doing 1, 2 instead of 3 here. You listen. I'm doing 1, 2, 3 here. 4, 5, 6 here. But 2, 3, and then also that 3 in there. That's why my 9th fret and my 4th fret are the same thing. Now the reason that this is important is if we're going to be building chords off of each one of these scale degrees. And the reason this is important is if you guys are in a jam session situation, somebody might call out 1, 4, 5 in G, you know, a 1, 3, 4 in D. And you guys have to be able to move quickly and be able to navigate that. So in any one of these situations, this is what we have. Our 1 chord, I'm gonna try to do this without writing it like super sloppy, guys. Our 1 chord is major. My 2 chord is minor. My 3 chord is minor. My 4 chord is major. My 5 chord is major. And my 6 chord is minor. And if you guys notice, I'm leaving the 7 out right now, just because that has a diminished 5th in it, and it's barely used. We will get into that way later. All right, so now taking these concepts, if I'm still on my 5th fret, okay, and I have this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as my scale degrees, if I want to make those if I want to build chords off of each one of those scale degrees, I have my 1 is major, just like I've written down here, 1 major. So, since my root note is on that 6th string, I'm going to play my major bar chord starting on my 6th string. 1 major. Oh, this guitar is never in tune. Cool. All right, now if I move up to my 2, just like that, my 1 to my 2 is minor. Minor form for starting on the 6th string. 6th string. Same thing, my 3 is minor, so I'm just gonna move 1, 2, 3. Same deal, minor form, no middle finger, right? But also my minor form starting on my 5th string, because if I do 1, 2, 3, if I want to do 1, 2 instead of that 3, minor chord starting on my 5th string. All right. Then if I want to move up to the 4, major, right? So I got my major form starting on the 5th string. Major again, because my 4 and 5 are both major. Oop, I'm starting to kind of draw it down that way. All right, and then my 6 is minor. So I have 1 major, 2 minor, 3 minor, 4 major, 5 major, 6 minor. All right, so if someone were to call out any one of these chord progressions, if we just take our 1, 4, 5, which is our most common chord progression, all right, and I were to say, all right, my 1, my 4 is the same exact fret, just over to the next string, right? 1, my 4, my 5 is that same string, just moved up 2 frets. So now I have 1, 4, 5, 1 major, 4 major, 5 major. So anywhere I'm playing, right? So that would be in A. If someone were to yell out 1, 4, 5 in F, all I have to do is find an F, and I can do the exact same thing. All right. If I could figure this out, and we're gonna go through how to, but really quickly, right? The first fret is my F. 1, 4, 5. You guys look, it looks exactly the same. All right. So now, if I were to take another progression, someone were to yell out a 1, 5, 6, 4. All right. And I have 4 chords. 1, 5, 6, and 4. 1. My 5 is my 5th string up 2 frets. My 6 is up 2 frets from there. And then my 4 is down parallel to my 1. So now if I was in A, 1, my 5, which is major, all right, playing that. my 6 up 2 frets, which is minor, right? 5 to 6, up 2 frets, 6 is minor. All right, so I'm playing that minor form. And then my 4, parallel to where my 1 was, which would be my 5th fret, and I'm playing major. So 1, 5, 6. Now, like I said, somebody might call that out in a different key. So if they said G, all right, my G is my 3rd fret, so that becomes my 1. 1, same thing, 5, 6, 4. Right, if I just do a 1 to 3, same deal. 1 is major, 3, wherever I decide to play it, is minor. 1, 3, or. All right, so rewind any part of that if that starts getting a little bit too tricky. All right, we're gonna start adding in some more notes and really trying to figure out how to form this in to a little bit more of a musical language.